Hello, my name is Justice Winn-Howard, and this is my screencast for the final assignment for Geography 167. For this project, I decided to analyze the effects of alcohol consumption per capita on state happiness rankings and suicide rates. Um, Alcohol consumption plays a large role in our society, and socially, it's if we're going out with our friends or maybe to meet strangers, we'll go to a bar or have a house party or go out to a club, and alcohol tends to play a large role in that. But it can also have some negative implications. It's a depressant, so it can lead to diseases such as alcoholism and can lead to even more serious things such as suicide. So I thought it would be interesting to um, see the correlations both in a positive light and a negative light regarding alcohol consumption. So my questions for this project were as follows. Does alcohol consumption per capita yield a correlation with state happiness rankings or suicide rates by state? Additionally, if either confirmed to be true, which variable has a stronger correlation? Are either of these relationships statistically significant? And lastly, depending on our results, what do our conclusions suggest? For data collection, happiness rankings were based off of Gallup and Healthway's annual well-being index. Suicide rates were collected from Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and alcohol consumption per capita was found through GEOG167. As far as my technical considerations, because we're comparing three different variables and their correlations to one another, I decided that using Google GeoMaps and GeoCharts would be the strongest way to present this data, specifically for their strength in displaying bivariate visualizations, specifically with the GeoMap and the scatter chart. You know, and in addition to this, I also calculated correlation coefficients and non-directional probabilities for statistical significance in order to see the strength of all of these correlations. So after these technical considerations, my strategy, my two dependent variables are happiness rankings and suicide rates in comparison to alcohol consumption. So I first compared alcohol consumption to happiness rankings. First I used a GeoMap. You can see some interesting stuff here. North Dakota is #1 in state happiness rankings, has pretty high consumption of alcohol at 44 gallons, but also, let's see, here we go. West Virginia, the complete opposite end of the state happiness rankings, the least happy state in the U.S., and they also have a high consumption of alcohol, so that's interesting. And then the scatter chart is where we really dive into the correlation side of things. We use a scatter chart to begin looking to see if we see any sort of trend. In this case, not so much. And then furthermore, we'll calculate the correlation coefficients and the non-directional probability to determine statistical significance. After that, we do the same process for alcohol consumption and suicide rates. In case you didn't know, Wyoming had the highest suicide rate at 29.57. And again, we'll go down to the scatter plots to see if we really see any true correlation with this. In this case, I think we are seeing a bit more of a trend, and that is confirmed when I did my calculations for correlation coefficient and non-directional probability for statistical significance. You can read through the paragraph to find out more on that. And then lastly, I decided to compare the two dependent variables to see if they had any correlation out of interest, which were state happiness rankings and suicide rates. Again, here we're not really seeing much of that. So, and then there's my conclusion based on the data. So overall, I'm pretty satisfied with my research topic. This was one of the first times I've had a research topic and not really been able to have any strong conclusions as far as correlations go. There weren't a lot of strong correlations with my data, and even when there was, they were very small ones. But I did think it was very interesting, and I think down the line, in order to do maybe more productive analysis, instead of the state happiness rankings, we could find happiness information that uses a range of happiness rather than a ranking system that might eliminate some of the bias and the correlation coefficients. But overall, that's my project, and I hope you will read through it to see everything that